I want to welcome you to another episode of the Rise of the 1% podcast, where you're going to discover the tools, the strategies, the insights to dominate and get to the top 1% of your industry. I am G-Bass. And in today's episode, definitely got something exciting to actually cover. I'm going to talk about how to become a top 1% performer in 2024. How to become a top 1% performer in 2024. See, we're in the new year now, so you can decide to be okay this year when it comes to different areas of your life and business. You can decide to be good this year. You can decide to be great this year, or you can decide to be extraordinary this year. And when it comes to becoming a top 1% performer, those are those individuals that go on to become extraordinary. And so what I want to start off with talking about is talking about what it means to be a top 1% performer in various fields. So when it comes to being a top 1% performer, typically those individuals are those that go on to master their craft. They go on to be the best at what they do. They're typically in the top 10 of their industry. They are what you would consider virtuosos when it comes to their craft. They've mastered their craft. That's typically what it means to be a top 1% performer in various fields. Now I want to talk about some of the traits and characteristics among high achievers. One thing I can tell you from myself being deemed a high achiever from other people, to also as well being around a lot of high achievers over the years, to even studying a lot of high achievers. One thing I can tell you, the first common trait and characteristic that high achievers has is, for one, they're self-motivated. Self-motivated. You want to take note of that. Self-motivated. Don't really need to be motivated by external situations. They're motivated internally. The second trait and characteristic is high achievers. They're typically coachable. They're consistently willing to learn, to listen from others that yield the results that they want in their life or even in their business. They don't believe they know everything. Always willing to learn and grow. Don't believe they have every single thing figured out. The third common trait and characteristic is they have great work ethic. Great work ethic. Work extremely hard at being a high achiever. They're not lazy. You don't constantly have to stay on high achievers about getting specific tasks done. They get it done. Not a whole lot of procrastination, if any procrastination. They get it done. So another thing that top 1% performers do is they set clear goals. And I know I've talked a little bit about this in the last couple of episodes. I'm going to go a little deeper, though, in this episode in terms of setting clear goals. So let's say, for instance, this year in 2024, you have a health goal that you want to get to a specific weight. Well, you could say, I just want to lose weight this year. Or you could say, I want to lose, let's say, 15 pounds. I'm just throwing that out there. It can be something different for you. It can be less, it can be more. I'm just throwing that number out there. So let's say you say I want to lose 15 pounds. What I would recommend is you hedge your goal a little bit, and instead of going for 15 pounds in terms of the way that you work, in terms of losing that weight, you work like you're attempting to lose 20 pounds. So you at least hit the 15. Or let's say, for instance, you are looking to generate a certain amount of sales calls per week for your business. Let's say you want at least 10 quality sales calls a week on your calendar for your business that you could potentially do business with. Instead of working like you're going for 10 sales calls, go for like 13 sales calls. Make 13 sales calls the goal. The projection could be around 10, and don't go out the week with no less than 10 quality sales calls being booked into your calendar. Set a goal of 13. And it can be the same thing if you're looking to do this exercise in terms of goal setting, even with client success. You can say, hey, I'm looking to create 50 new success stories this year, or 100 success stories this year, whatever the number may be. Let's just say you're looking to create 50. Let's just throw 50 out there. You want to work like you are looking to create, let's say, 70 client success stories. So these are just some examples in reference to how you could go about setting clear goals this year in 2024 to obtain high achievement. Now I want to talk about developing a growth mindset when it comes to becoming a top 1% performer in 2024. So the type of mindset that top 1% performers have is they're all in on what they're doing. It's either be all in or go home. They're either going to go all in on being extremely successful at whatever they're looking to accomplish, or they're not going to do it at all. That's the type of mindset the top 1% performer has. Another thing as well, they don't quit. The only way a lot of times you fail is by quitting. They keep pushing. They know obstacles and challenges are going to come. It's not going to be easy to become a top 1% performer, to be a high achiever. They already prepare themselves mentally and even physically in some areas to know that obstacles and challenges are going to come, but you got to persevere and continue to push through no matter what. Now I want to talk a little bit about how top 1% performers use their time. So one thing I can tell you in terms of myself being a high achiever, like I said before, because I've had people tell me that. This is not something I just brag on myself about. People have told me, hey, Gerald, you excel at a lot of different things that you've done in your life. So I can consider myself a high achiever because other people have said I am. But not only that, like I say, just being around high achievers, being coached over the years by high achievers, to even studying them. So one thing in terms of top 1%er, in terms of high performance, typically plan their days a day ahead when it comes to how they use their time. It's a quote by a guy named Jim Rohn. He said he once was asked, when should you start your day? He said, as soon as it's finished. So that means plan your day a day ahead. Typically, top 1% performers as well in terms of high performance typically work on taking it in around the same time at night and getting up around the same time every day. That's one thing. Another thing, they typically have a morning success routine, which is, I've shared that in a recent Rise of the 1% podcast episode. And they typically stick to that morning success routine on a daily basis. They also typically have time blocks throughout their day where they're going to focus in on their work. It could be meeting with their team if it's in business. It could be doing sales calls. It could be doing deep work in terms of product or service delivery for clients, in terms of client success. They have time blocks out to eat lunch. It can be time blocks as well at times for when you're going to post on social media, when you're going to create content. Be time blocks as well for when you eat dinner. Time blocks for when you're going to spend time with the family or friends. Or time blocks as well when you're going to go to church, if you go to church. Or when you're going to travel, things of that nature. That's how top 1%ers in terms of performance, that's how they operate. All right. The next thing, continuous learning and skill development. So you have to ask yourself in 2024 this year, how do you plan on continuing bettering your skill sets? Are you going to read more books around your specific skill set that you're looking to get better at? Are you going to take some online courses, invest in some online courses, invest into yourself, or invest into a coach that can help you get better at your skill sets and even hold you accountable as well? Are you going to maybe join a mastermind to get better at your skill sets, to be around other people that may be within your specific space or industry that are doing very well? Being in the inner circle with them, can share knowledge, share strategies when it comes to getting better at skill sets. Are you going to attend events and conferences in your space where information is being shared from the stage that can help you with being better at specific skill sets that you're looking to get better at? And where you can network with other people at those events and conferences where you maybe can add some value to them, share some knowledge with them, and they also maybe can share some value with you in areas that you can get better in terms of specific skill sets you're looking to get better at in 2024. Next, you have to build strong habits. So you can have positive habits, you can have negative habits. You have to make the choice. Positive habits. I just spoke on this earlier. Are you going to be the type throughout your week this year, on days where you operating your business to stay up all night watching Netflix and know you got to get up in the morning and really get things going with your business? Or you're going to take it in at a reasonable time, around the same time, every single night, and get up around the same time every single morning? That's a habit. That's a positive habit. Are you not going to have a morning success routine? Are you just going to get up and go at your day, or are you going to have a routine? I shared my routine in a recent episode. I could go through it very quickly though. Typically involves prayer. Typically involves workout. Some form of personal development in terms of reading or listening to audios. Devotion in terms of studying scripture and the Bible. Reviewing goals, get to work. Those are habits. That's a form of discipline to do that every single morning. So is that something you're going to have? As well, habits as you go throughout your day to really stay focused in on specific tasks that need to get done to move the boat forward when it comes to, let's say, growing your business. Or are you going to get distracted with all these different shiny objects, getting drawn into social media, getting drawn into running errands and doing things for other people all the time? If you work from home, getting drawn into cutting on the TV throughout the day and watching TV instead of working on your business. Are you going to focus on specific tasks in terms of those time blocks that I talked about with no distractions? Stay laser focused. They said one time Warren Buffett and Bill Gates, who are very successful businessmen, did dinner with their families, their parents. And one of the parents asked if Warren and Bill had to name one thing that they believe is attributed to the success they've had, what would it be? And they both said at the same time at the dinner table, focus. So you got to focus if you want to become a top 1% performer in 2024. Now, what you want to keep in mind as well is as you're setting out to become a top 1% performer, there will be setbacks at times. It's not all smooth when you're setting out to do great things. One thing I discovered some years ago from one of my coaches actually shared this with me is you're either going through a storm is about to hit, or you're coming out of one. That's how life is. Setbacks gonna happen. What matters though is how do you react to those setbacks? Life is pretty much 10% what happens to you, 90% how you respond. So when setbacks happen, are you going to throw in the towel? Are you going to quit, give up? Or are you going to remember the reason why you even started on this journey in the first place? Your reasons why got to be deep, personal, and it could be business. Both. Got to be deep. So I recommend when any setbacks may come, any challenges come, obstacles come, just revert back on your reasons why. That's why it's a great thing to review your goals every single morning. That's one of the reasons I do that as well. And I've done it over the years. It just keeps you on track. No matter what comes your way, you know what you got to go out and accomplish. So next I want to talk about as well in terms of becoming a top 1% performer in 2024. I want to talk about networking and building relationships. So I know I've talked a little bit about this in the last couple of episodes. I want to talk a little bit more in detail on this one. To be a top 1% performer, you have to be willing to go to the extent in terms of building relationships. I know some people just get very comfortable with just like being in their city or state when it comes to networking and building relationships. I can tell you this, at times myself over the years, I've traveled to other cities and states just to do meetings with people on business. To build relationships. The mastermind that I actually am a part of literally traveled to sunny Isle, Florida 4 times a year and stayed for 4 days when we was actually meeting up in sunny Isle. Four times a year. And I can tell you by going down to those meetings, for one, great for networking and building relationships amongst other people that were within my space. Within my space. Getting to know more about them personally and even business-wise. And not only that, sharing strategies. Some of the people in the mastermind, businesses are pretty big. They put up pretty big numbers in terms of revenue, profit, and even client successes. So I would travel to be around those type of people. Not only that, I've traveled to just conferences as well over the years in other cities and states, to even going to the ones here in Georgia where I stay, just to literally build more relationships, get to know more people, and also just network, make connections. At times it's led to business as well. At times it's led to just having a great relationship with another person. At times it's led to strategic partnerships. It's led to referrals, things of that nature. So yeah, you got to get out, network, and build relationships. And actually, at the time of me recording this podcast episode, we actually have a business dinner coming up for the Rise of the 1%. Going to be meeting at a restaurant here in Georgia, steakhouse. I'm going to sit down, network, build relationships, have some business conversations, talk strategy. Those that are there who can add value to each other, potentially maybe talk business with each other, potentially may talk strategic partnerships, joint ventures at the business dinner, and share resources and opportunities. So I'm not just one that just talks about this stuff. We're putting this together ourselves right here in Georgia. You can do something similar where you're located at. So the next thing I want to talk about as well when it comes to becoming a top 1% performer in 2024, you got to as well enjoy yourself. It's not all just working. You got to have those times as well where you can enjoy life. Reward yourself. I talked about this in a recent podcast episode. You're on track. You accomplish your things. Things are going well. Reward yourself. At times, there's nothing wrong with watching movies if you're on track and you've done the things that you're supposed to do, that you said you was going to do. I mean, myself, I typically don't watch movies but on weekends, not normally during the business week. At times, though, that may be a way that you may reward yourself, even during the business week. If you had a successful day, you may want to reward yourself with things that you like to do. Different hobbies. Like I spoke on before, take a vacation once a quarter maybe. Because this helps as well with your mental and physical being as well. Can't just be all work, even though you got to have great work ethic as well to be a top 1% performer. At times, though, you got to relax as well and enjoy yourself along the journey. Now, the last couple of things I speak on is also to become a top 1% performer in 2024, you got to be willing to adapt to change. If you are one of those people who always say, oh, tech is not my thing. I hear that at times from like different business owners. Oh, tech is not my thing. I will encourage you this year to learn more about whatever it is you say that is not your thing. I'm not saying you necessarily have to be an expert at it. You still should learn more about it. Whatever it may be. It could be tech. It could be AI. It could be certain things around marketing or just different areas of growing your company as a whole. Whatever it may be, I would encourage you, 2024, if you really want to be a top 1% performer, is get out of your head, get out your own way, and educate yourself a little bit more on the things that you may feel are some of the most difficult tasks. Just educate yourself more. Like I said, you don't have to necessarily be an expert at it if that's not really your zone of genius. Still educate yourself, though. Get out of saying that's not my thing when it comes to like different areas of growing your company. And the last thing I will speak on in terms of becoming a top 1% performer in 2024 is you may want to interview a top 1% performer. Interview them. Ask them a little bit about their journey, what it was like, some of their obstacles, challenges, setbacks, to even them get into their certain accomplishments and successes and how they got there. That's what you may want to consider doing. So now I want to get into the 1%er of the week. So this week's 1%er, this gentleman here is a champion, world champion boxer. Literally went 50-0 in terms of his record when it came to his boxing career. Undefeated. Not only that, his fights pulled in approximately $2.7 billion from global pay-per-view sales in his career. He has his own promotional company. He has an adult club out in Las Vegas. He has a skating rink. He has a racing company, and he also has a clothing company. And he's also as well invested in tons of real estate. This week's 1% of the week, want to give it up for Mr. Floyd Mayweather Jr.
I'm a bad boy, always knew I would shine. I bang with the bangers, I flame with the flamers. You know what my name is.
Everything you taught me from day one. I always remember. Everything working, baby.
I never overlooked no opponent. I train for every fighter the same way. I push myself. You can never overlook anyone. In this camp, did I push myself? Absolutely. Every fight played a major key. All 48 fights played a major key. It's not just the intelligence. It's the sharp mind. It's the good chin. It's the tremendous heart. I believe in my skills and I believe in my talent. And I've been in there with the best. And the results is always the same. You got fighters that may be faster than me. You got fighters that may hit harder than me. You got fighters that's very athletic. But you don't have no fighter that can make adjustments like me. You don't have fighters that can be on my level mentally. It's never personal for me. It's always business. I always had a dream. And my dream was to be the best. No matter what happens, Saturday. When it comes down to boxing, I'm the best at this. I never focused on things on the outside. I never put nothing before I put boxing. This always came first. At 4:30 in the morning. When my opponent is sleeping, I'm working. And when he's up working, at 2 o'clock, at 3 o'clock, I'm working. I don't want to leave nothing in the sport to say I wasn't the best.
Early on, you got to balance on a small scale. So what I was able to do was balance money on a small scale first. I made some mistakes in the beginning, but that comes with the territory. Then one of the best investments that I did was New York real estate. So it started off with 7 figures, and I was getting a certain amount of money every month because, when I get with my friends that's Jewish, and I get with my friends, my white friends and my Jewish friends, I'm not with them. I'm not trying to say, let me get on your plane, or I like your house. I say, you know what? Show me how to get generational wealth. And just being around them, I soaked up the game and I learned it. And just being with Al Heyman played a major part, with helping me get to where I got to. You know, Al Heyman one day just told me, you want to be the highest paid athlete? We'll do that. You want to go on Forbes as the top guy? We'll do that. But then, you know, along with Al and my Jewish friends and my white friends, what we did was we built generational wealth. So my first investment, I came in, my first investment was $5 million, but that was years ago. I'm talking about years ago. When I first gave them $5 million, I was getting $50,000 a month. So I said, yo, the money kept coming on the 18th every month. 50,000 would come in. I still was competing, I still was fighting, I still was active, and I still was making crazy money. I told the guys, well, I'm gonna bring y'all another 8 figures. I said, I'm gonna bring you guys 8 figures now. I know I gave you guys 7 figures, but I'm gonna bring you guys 8 figers. But then it was so
You just say that shit so easy. I'm gonna bring y'all 8 figures.
This pocket money.
So it was paying off. So what I did was I went and dumped 9 figures on them. So
He's talking about this like he went and got a sandwich. Yeah, I went and bought 10 sandwiches for everybody and he said, go ahead, that shit ain't nothing to him.
There you have it. So you heard from Floyd Mayweather Jr., who's definitely a top 1% performer in certain areas of his life and also business. So what I encourage you to do at this point is definitely share your biggest takeaways from this episode. What are some things you plan on doing to be a top 1% performer this year in 2024? Or if you are a top performer in terms of, let's say, a top 1% performer in different areas of your life or business, what are some of the things you've done to get there? If you could drop them in the comment section. Also, if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you bang that like button, bang that subscribe button, dropping a lot more episodes just like this. Also, feel free to share this around with anyone else you feel could benefit. If you're listening to this on Apple or Spotify, make sure to drop us a review. And also, if you got a ton of value out of it, make sure you give us a 5-star rating. We definitely appreciate it. Also, if you are a Black coach, consultant, course creator, service-based business provider, and you're looking for strategies this year in 2024 to be able to keep your calendar full with qualified appointments and be able to scale your business up to 20K to 50K a month in under 60 days without paid ads, it actually be a link in the description of this video. You can click on that link and go over. And you get access to an absolute free case study on that. With that said, this is Gerald Bass, the Rise to 1%. Have a phenomenal day on purpose.